Good morning. We are learning Parshah Va'era. This is the second portion in Sefer Shmot. In article Chumash, it's on page 319. Moshe came to Egypt at the command of God to redeem the Jewish people. He comes to the Jewish people, he proves to them that he is the messenger of God, and then together with Aaron he goes to Pharaoh and he demands that Pharaoh should let the Jewish people go into the desert for 3 days. Pharaoh refuses, just as Hashem warned Moshe, and Pharaoh makes the work even harder for the Jewish people. The Jewish people cry to Moshe, and Moshe comes to Hashem and asks Hashem, why did you send me? You made it even worse for the people. And Hashem says, now you will see what I shall do to Pharaoh. And what is Hashem's going to do to Pharaoh? This is what we call the 10 plagues. And the 10 plagues, each one took about a month to complete. The plague itself lasted for a week, but then there was a warning period and then the resting period. So the whole cycle took a month, and like this for 10 plagues. So the entire thing took about 10 months. And for during all that time, Jewish people were free. They, starting from the first plague, they were not subjugated anymore. They were basically just observing and gaining emunah, gaining faith and trust in Hashem, seeing that He's there, He cares for them, He punishes those that oppress them. And this way, slowly, Hashem was raising them from the low level of slaves to the level of free people, those that feel that I don't have human master anymore, my master is God, and He takes care of me and He protects me. And no human being, whether he hurt me in the past or wants to hurt me in the future, will not be able to. And only through this, Jewish people merited to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. So again, just briefly about the 10 plagues.
Rabbi, what did they eat during those 10 months? They just relied on whatever they had?
Whatever they had. I mean, the fields were still there. They could still harvest and eat. They still had their own animals. They were just not subjugated to Egyptians, that they didn't have to work for them, but they still could work for themselves. Jewish people still at that point had their own properties and they could still work for themselves. Now, the 10 plagues have a certain pattern. The pattern is that they're divided into 3 sections, 3 plagues each, and plus the last one. And the 3 sections correspond to the 3 statements that Hashem wanted to prove to the Jewish people and to Pharaoh. Pharaoh at one point said, who is Hashem? So Hashem had to show who He is. And then Pharaoh said that I should listen to him. And then Hashem had to show him that He controls the entire world and that He is someone to listen to. And then Pharaoh said, I'm not going to send the Jewish people. I'm not going to listen to Hashem. I'm not going to send the Jewish people. And Pharaoh now had to show him that he will send the Jewish people. And finally, Hashem fulfilled His promise that He said to Moshe, tell Pharaoh, B'ni v'chori Israel, Jewish people are my firstborn son. And if you don't send my firstborn son to serve me, I will kill your firstborn son. And therefore, Hashem already in the beginning, before the plagues began, warned Pharaoh what's going to be at the end. That eventually the last plague is going to be that all the firstborn Egyptians are going to be killed. And that is to show the unique status of the Jewish people. That the Jewish people are the favorite nation of Hashem. They are called the firstborn child of Hashem. And to show that, Hashem killed the firstborn Egyptians. So the first 3 plagues show to us that Hashem exists. Ki ani Hashem. The second set of 3, Ki ani Hashem bekerev haaretz, that He doesn't only exist somewhere far away, but that He is involved in everyday running of the world. He is in the midst of the earth. And the third set of plagues, Ki ein kamoni b'chol haaretz. Not only I'm in control, but there is no one else who has any power. At that point already the Egyptian magicians gave up and they said, it's God, we have no power. And it became clear that not only God is there and He's powerful, He's in control, but there is no one else who has any amount of strength at all. All the idols are nothing before Hashem. Also, what we're going to notice in these makot, that some plagues had a warning. Some plagues didn't. They just came. And the pattern is that in the beginning there was a warning, and then when Pharaoh didn't listen once and again, there was no warning. And then again there was a warning, and again a warning, and when Pharaoh didn't listen twice, there was no warning. And for the third time there was warning 2 times, and when Pharaoh didn't listen, for the third time there was no warning. That's another pattern we can notice. And one more thing to mention, that some plagues had with them threat to life, threat to Egyptian life. And some plagues, they were inconvenient. Some plagues, maybe they would just cause them financial loss or just some discomfort for their body, but there was no threat to life. So we will notice that whichever plagues had threat to life, Pharaoh right away came and said, I will let the Jewish people go. And then immediately after that, after the plague left, he changed his mind. Mm-hmm. Where there was no threat to life, Pharaoh didn't give in, and he held on through the plague. He was willing to suffer financial loss and the personal pain. He didn't let the Jewish people go. So let's go through the Parshah now. First, Hashem speaks to Moshe, because Moshe came to Hashem complaining, why did you make it worse for the Jewish people? So number 1, Hashem says, I am now appearing to you and to the Jewish people in a different capacity, with a different aspect of my essence than I appeared in previous generations to Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. He says that to Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov I appeared as El Shaddai, which means the Almighty God, all-powerful God. Shaddai, the word, it's one of the names of Hashem, means Shaddai, that He has enough power to do everything. Dai in Hebrew means enough. Mm-hmm. So Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, they knew and understood that God is all-powerful. But it says, with my name Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, I did not make myself known to them. They did not see this quality of my name. They were aware of it, but I didn't show to them clearly. And this is what I'm going to show to the Jewish people. So the Jewish people in Egypt, through the plagues, and when they came out, the miracles at the Yam Suf, at the splitting of the Red Sea, and the revelation at Mount Sinai, they saw more of Hashem's essence than even Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Now Hashem says that there will be 4 levels of redemption. Number 1, this is in Pasuk 6, it says, I shall take you out from under the burdens of Egypt. Which means that their service, that their slavery is going to be lightened. It's not anymore going to be back-breaking labor. Now it's going to be lighter. Then it says, I shall rescue you from their service. Which means now they're going to be free completely. They will not have to do any work for Egyptians. 3, I shall redeem you with an outstretched arm. So now they will be able to come out of Egypt. And then in Pasuk 7, number 4, I shall take you to me for a people. Now Jewish people are going to become a unique nation for God. And then in the future, in Pasuk 8, we have a promise, I shall bring you to the land about which I raised my hand to give it to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Right? So in the future, and it happened once, and we're awaiting of the second coming to our land of Israel, where Hashem again is going to fulfill His promise and give us the land of Israel without anyone bothering us on that land. Right now, even though Jewish people live in the land of Israel, but it's not fully ours. Other people are still trying to take it away from us. By the way, these four expressions of Geulah are what is Pesach Seder is based on. By Pesach Seder, we drink the 4 cups of wine. And these 4 cups of wine correspond to these 4 expressions of redemption. Lightening the burdens, taking the burdens away completely, taking us out from Egypt and making us His own nation. And then we pour the 5th cup, which we call the cup of Eliyahu, and that is for the last promise, I shall bring you to the land. We go to page 321, Pasuk 9. However, the children of Israel did not heed Moshe because of shortness of breath and hard work. At this point, they still are slaves and working so hard they have no strength. And they don't want the situation to be even worse. So they just wish Moshe should go away and let us suffer. We cannot handle anymore Pharaoh putting even more work on us. Moshe again comes to Hashem and says, behold, Pasuk 12, children of Israel have not listened to me. So how will Pharaoh listen to me? But Hashem commands him to continue his mission. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron and commanded them regarding the children of Israel and regarding Pharaoh. Even though you feel it's not successful, even though you don't see result, continue. Don't give up and you will see success. And this is what happens. They continue going to Pharaoh. But before they go, the Torah gives us genealogy of Moshe and Aaron. But it starts with Reuven. First, we speak briefly about Reuven and his children, Shimon and his children, Levi and his children. Now, once we come to Levi, this is our goal, and we stop there. Levi had 3 sons, Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. Levi lived one of the longest of all the brothers. Yosef lived only 110 years, but Levi lived 137 years. And then it gives us the sons of Gershon, sons of Kehat, and the sons of Merari. However, we actually concerned with sons of Kehat because of Amram. Amram is one of the children of Kehat, the grandson of Levi. And then, Pasuk 20, Amram took his aunt Yocheved as a wife, and she gave birth to Aaron and Moshe, and Miriam is not mentioned. So this is something surprising. Amram married Yocheved, and she was his aunt, which means Amram was the grandson of Levi. Yocheved was daughter of Levi. As in Parshah Shmo it says, a man from the tribe of Levi went out and he took the daughter of Levi. Daughter of Levi means literally she was the daughter of Levi. And you can ask a question, how is it possible that Amram married his aunt? We know in the Torah it says a man is not allowed to marry his aunt.
This is the only one of the only prohibitions. Yeah.
One
Small.
of the prohibitions. You're not allowed to marry your mother, you're not allowed to marry your sister, not allowed to marry your aunt. So how is Amram, the leader of the Jewish people, the father of Moshe? I would say Amram is one of the 4 people in the whole history of humanity that never did anything wrong in his life. He never sinned. So how is it he's marrying Yocheved, his aunt? And the simple answer is that before the Torah was given, this was not forbidden. It only became forbidden when the Torah was given. By the time Torah was given, both Amram and Yocheved were not alive anymore. This also explains why Yaakov married 2 sisters. The Torah says, just like you're not allowed to marry your aunt, you're not allowed to marry 2 sisters. You're allowed to marry 1 sister, but you're not allowed to marry a second sister. And Yaakov married 2 sisters.
But I remember we learned a while back, you mentioned that somewhere in the Gemara it says, let's say you're married to one of the sisters and she dies, your brother-in-law dies, you can marry her as well.
There are 2 cases. If you are married to 1 sister and then your wife dies, now you are allowed to marry the second sister. This is one of the exceptions. Usually, if someone is forbidden to you in marriage, they remain forbidden to you in marriage forever. However, sister is different. If you're married to 1 woman and she has a sister, as long as your wife is alive, whether you're married to her or not, even if you divorce her, you're not allowed to marry second sister. But if your wife dies, then the sister becomes permissible to you.
So in this case, if your wife dies, and you can marry the sister. The
Yes.
sister means she has to be single, not that you're her second husband, everything.
Even if you're her second husband, let's say she was married, her husband died, and you marry her.
And that's a given. I mean, she's single.
Yes.
But I'm saying that if she's already married, that means you're not married. Okay.
Yes.
Same applies with the brothers as
A
well?
brother is different. If you're married to a woman and you yourself die and you don't have children, then your brother is allowed to marry your wife.
What if I have children?
If you have children, no.
Why?
That's it. Because the reason is that we want you to have future. We want you to keep your name in the world in the future. And if you never had children, we'll give you the opportunity. Your brother marries who is closest to you, and the first child that's born, your neshama goes in him, and he's called by your name. So
Even today?
now by Sephardim they do it, by Ashkenazim they don't do it.
They don't do what?
It's called yibum, that if a brother dies without children, his brother can marry his wife, and then the first child is going to be called on his brother's, the deceased brother's name.
What Ashkenazi don't do? They
They don't do this because they say that a person has to be a righteous man. He has to have proper intent for marrying your brother's wife. Why are you marrying her? Just because you like how she looks, or because you want to bring your brother's soul back? So if you have proper intent that you want to fulfill the mitzvah and you're only doing it because as a kindness to your brother, then you can do it. But because people might do it for wrong reason, they do instead the other possibility, which is chalitza. Chalitza is
Spit in a shul.
on the ground in front of him. Chalitza is a process whereby you release the woman, the wife of your brother, wife of your deceased brother, you release her from connection to you, so that you declare that I don't want to marry you, and she's free to marry anyone else. it's not ideal, because this way you don't allow your brother's soul to come back into the world. You don't allow him to have children. But in cases where for some reason it's not possible, there's something that prevents them from getting married, or in this case where we don't want them to get married because we suspect they're not getting married for the right reasons, we do this process, and therefore the woman becomes free to marry anyone else. And the process is that she takes off his shoe, because the shoe it represents the container where the body is, right? The lower part of the body is in the shoe. So too the soul is in the body, but only the lower part of the soul is in the body. The majority of the soul is above. And therefore, it's like you're saying to the brother, you're not willing to provide a body for your brother's soul, which means it's as if you're not providing the shoe for the body. So we take away the shoe, and she spits on the ground in front of him.
Take away a shoe from whom?
From the
brother.
The brother who doesn't want to marry her.
Somebody takes away? Or?
The wife removes the shoe, symbolizing that you don't want to provide your brother's soul with the body.
So when you say takes off, I mean she physically takes off, or he just
Yes.
takes it off and she just...
No, she takes it off.
So he sits down and she takes it off? And
Yeah, there is a special shoe, with special straps, special way it's tied. She takes it off, spits on the ground, and makes certain declaration that this is the man that doesn't want to rebuild his brother's house, and she becomes free.
So it's not going against that brother, that it's like he violated the...
What can you do if the brother doesn't want? Again, sometimes he doesn't want, or sometimes he cannot. For example, what if the brother is married to the second sister?
Yeah, then he cannot.
So he cannot marry her. Or the wife of the deceased brother, somehow through another way is related to him, and he's not allowed to marry her.
But you're saying if a brother has a wife, he's still supposed to marry...
Yes.
But you just said that only if she's dead.
No.
Let's say he has another wife.
From another blood.
Oh.
If he has a sister, if he married a sister, then he cannot marry a second sister. Then he needs to do chalitza. Okay. So Amram married his aunt, Yocheved, and at that time it was permissible. Again, even though our forefathers tried to keep the Torah, they were aware of it, but only when it was convenient, when it was the proper thing to do. When the situation called for going against the Torah, they were allowed to, because the Torah was not commanded upon them yet. They did it voluntarily. And therefore, when Amram saw that his destiny is to marry Yocheved, he married her.
But you're saying they already were aware of Torah?
They were aware of Torah.
In which way?
Not because it was written and given to them, no. But rather they were able to look into the world with their spiritual eyes and feel what needs to be done in the world.
Okay.
And therefore, when the time of Pesach came, they felt that now, for the next week, we're supposed to eat matzah. Whenever special time of the year or whenever special situation arose, they felt what needed to be done. And they had certain tradition from Adam Rishon, from Noah, from Avram, and Shem and Ever, of certain structure of the spiritual world and the physiology, if you can say, the way the spiritual world operates. And therefore they knew what needs to be done even without Hashem commanding them. But because Hashem didn't command them, it was voluntary. If they saw that something supersedes in this situation the Torah command, they were able to do it because the Torah was not commanded yet. Then,
and she was younger, obviously, right?
She was not younger.
She was not younger?
No, she was an old lady. I mean, at the time when Moshe was born, she was an old lady. It says that if she was born from Levi, and we say that she was born as soon as they came to Egypt, and the whole slavery was 210 years, and at the time when they came out, Moshe was 80 years old, which means Moshe was born 210 minus 80, he was born 130 years into the Egyptian exile. So that means his mother was 130 years old
At
that time.
because she was born when they entered.
Egypt. So she was older, we assume that she was older than her husband, and she was an old lady when she gave birth to Moshe.
Do you have an idea how old Amram was?
I don't know. We know that Amram died when he was 137 years old.
And Aaron, how much older Aaron was than
3 years older. Because we know that Aaron died 123 years old and Moshe died 120. 3-year difference, but they died in the same year. And Miriam, we assume, was a little bit older than that. Because Miriam already, before Moshe was born, she already was a mature girl. She already spoke to her parents. She convinced her father to remarry again. Because originally, after having Miriam and Aaron, Amram divorced his wife. Because he didn't want to produce more children that Pharaoh will be able to kill. And therefore, all the Jewish people followed, but Miriam came to him and she said, that's not good because you're also not letting girls to be born. And he listened to her, he remarried again. And at that time when he remarried, Yocheved was 130 years old. So then we speak about sons of Aharon. Aharon married Elisheva. So then again, the names Miriam, Yocheved, Elisheva all come from this family. Daughter of Aminadav, the sister of Nachshon ben Aminadav. And Aharon had 4 children, Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, and Itamar. 4 sons. We mention also Elazar, son of Aharon, the 3rd son of Aharon, and he also married. His father-in-law, we say, was Putiel, and it was either Yosef or Yitro, or both, meaning one was, they were different grandfathers, 2 grandfathers, one Yosef, one Yitro, and Elazar had son Pinchas. We mention all these names because later in the Torah they will be significant. We're going to mention again Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, Itamar. We're going to mention Elazar. We're going to mention Pinchas, Nachshon, Korach. All these names are going to be mentioned again. Okay, once we come to Moshe, the Torah says, these are the people, Aharon and Moshe, who Hashem sent to speak to the Jewish people and to take them out of Egypt. And these are the ones who spoke to Pharaoh. Moshe objects 2nd time, and he says, behold, I have sealed lips, how shall Pharaoh heed to me? And Hashem replies, this is chapter 7, Pasuk 1, see, I have made you a master over Pharaoh. Which means now you tell Pharaoh what to do, and Pharaoh must listen. And Aharon, your brother, shall be your spokesman. Don't say your lips are sealed. Aharon is going to speak, and don't think Pharaoh is not going to listen to you. You are the master of Pharaoh.
Why would he seal his lips?
No, sealed means that he had a speech impediment. He couldn't speak clearly. He was not a good orator.
Okay.
And also he felt like his lips are sealed because nobody is listening to him. The Jewish people are not listening. Pharaoh is not listening. So it's as if he is mute, as if he is not talking because nobody is replying.
Mm-hmm. So Aharon had much better communication skills.
Yes. Well, Moshe had physical problem. Now, on the next page, Pasuk 7, it tells us how old they were. Moshe was 80 years old and Aharon was 83 years old. So again, we see the difference of 3 years when they spoke to Pharaoh. Now, they come in front of Pharaoh and Moshe performs miracles. Aaron cast down his staff before Pharaoh and it became a snake. But the sorcerers came in and they did the same thing. With their incantations, they threw their staffs down and it also became a snake. This was their power of black magic. They could turn a snake into a living, they could turn a stick, a dry stick, into a living snake. But then what happened was the staff of Aharon swallowed their staffs. Double miracle happened. Number one, Aharon's staff, after turning into the snake, turned back into the staff, and then the staff swallowed the snakes, swallowed many snakes.
Two snakes. Two or...
Many, it says, Pharaoh summoned his wise men and sorcerers, and they too, the necromancers of Egypt, did, which means there were many people.
Mm.
There were many staffs, and each one cast his staff, and they became snakes. And the staff of Aaron doesn't say the snake of Aaron, it says the staff of Aaron swallowed their staffs. But the heart of Pharaoh was strong, and he did not heed them. He didn't listen to them. He was not impressed by their miracle, because his magicians did the same, even though Aharon's snake was stronger, was not impressed. Now the first plague. Hashem says to Moshe,
Why wouldn't he kill at that time both of them?
why couldn't he? Well, number one,
He was afraid already.
Hashem protected them. Right? So even if Pharaoh wanted to, he couldn't. And number two, Pharaoh was very politically correct. He was very careful not to do anything without a cause. He would always try to explain himself why he does it. And if he couldn't explain, he couldn't do it.
So he was a wise man, basically.
He was a wise man, and also he had a weakness. He was very proud. He wanted everyone to think very highly of him. And he was very scared not to lower his status. He pretended to be a god. And because of that, anything that he felt would diminish his stature in the eyes of people, he was very scared to do. So he was shooting himself in his own foot. So Hashem says to Moshe, Pharaoh's heart is stubborn. He refuses to send the people. Go to Pharaoh in the morning. Behold, he goes out to the water. Why is he going out to the water, to the Nile River? To relieve himself, right? This was the way he was convincing people that he's God, that he doesn't have to go to the bathroom. So the whole day he would hold himself. Only once a day, early in the morning, he would go to Nile when no one sees, when everybody is still sleeping. And he knew that he ever uses bathroom. But Hashem said to Moshe, go to him exactly at that moment. To embarrass him, to show him that everybody knows that you're not God. The real God is sending me to you to tell you what's going to be. Behold, he goes out to the water, and you shall stand opposite him at the riverbank and say to him, Hashem, the God of Hebrews, has sent me to you. Send out my people that they may serve me in the wilderness. And through this shall you know that I am Hashem. Behold, with the staff that's in my hand, I shall strike the waters that are in the river, and they shall change to blood. So this is the warning. And that's what happened. Aharon took the staff, he struck the river, and all water in the river turned into blood. And not only that, the end of Pasuk 19 says, even in the wooden and stone vessels, all the water in all the rivers, canals, reservoirs, all the gatherings of water, even wooden and stone vessels, all the water in Egypt turned into blood.
Even with Jewish people, right? Everywhere.
Egyptians.
Only Egyptians?
Only Egyptians.
Rabbi, if Hashem was, Hashem is so almighty, right? Why wouldn't he just, they say like if Hashem doesn't want, a person would not lift his hand on earth, right?
Yes.
Why wouldn't he manage the Pharaoh to do whatever he wishes. Why wouldn't he do that right away?
You mean why the whole slavery happened? Or why
No.
he didn't punish them quickly?
No, why he couldn't have commanded Pharaoh to
To
say
let
the
it-
right words, whatever. He could have basically take possession of his
Yes,
mountain.
yes, but Hashem doesn't perform open miracles, number one. Number two, Hashem does not unnecessarily take away freedom of choice from people. That's number two. So
But
here,
he's pushing, right? With all these plagues, he pretty much forced people to do what he wanted at the end, right?
yes, but again, he didn't want Pharaoh to be forced into it. He wanted Pharaoh to admit.
But at
So-
the end, he still was forced, right?
He was forced. But in the end, even through all the forcing, even though Hashem was holding him back not to admit and not to let the Jewish people go, at the end, facing death, Pharaoh admitted, Hashem is the righteous and I am the evil one, and you can go. But at this point, he is giving him a chance. You decide, Pharaoh, are you going to be punished or not? And Pharaoh chooses the wrong thing.
Now, all these things we consider that the open miracles, right?
Open miracles, yes.
Okay.
But again, Hashem does such a miracle, even though it's open, that if person wants to deny, he can explain it. Just like his magicians denied. They said, we can do the same. They turned the stick into a snake. Here also, what does it say? That the necromancers of Egypt did the same by means of their incantations. So Pharaoh's heart was strong and he did not heed them. Because he was able to explain it. Oh, Moshe and Aaron are just great magicians. Maybe they're even better than mine, but they're just magicians. So I'm not going to listen to them. He convinced himself it's not God who's talking.
So with all this water turning blood,
The
he was
water,
convincing himself it was a trick.
yes. The water turned into blood.
Blood by color, or just it was like testing like blood?
Pasuk 21. The fish life that was in the river died. So it was not only color. The fish couldn't live there anymore. And the river became foul. Egypt could not drink water from the river. And blood was throughout the land of Egypt. And then in Pasuk 24, all the Egyptians dug round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink from the waters of the river. 7 days were completed after Hashem struck the river. So this plague lasted for 7 days, and same for every plague. So the water actually not only changed color, it actually became a different substance. It became blood. If it only changed the color, you could still drink. The fish wouldn't die. Now the second plague, frogs.
Technically, the Rabbi, without water, we can live 7 days. Because people would have died. A lot of people would
Well,
have.
it says that they dug round about the river for water. If they would dig, the water that was underground was still water.
Oh, okay.
That's one way to work hard. A second way was if they would buy water from the Jews. Since they would pay the Jews, now the water would stay water. But this way the Jews would become rich. So again, there is a warning. Hashem says to Moshe, come to Pharaoh and say to him, so said Hashem, send out my people and that they may serve me. But if you refuse to send out, behold, I shall strike your entire boundary with frogs. And that's what happened. And they shall ascend and come into your palace, and into your bedroom, and your bed, and into the house of your servants, and of your people, and into your ovens, and into your kneading bowls, and into you, which means they would jump into the mouths of the people and go inside this town, and your people, and all your servants will frogs ascend. And that's what happened. Then Pasuk 4, Pharaoh begs to remove frogs and promises to send people, because since they would jump inside the people's mouth and they would threaten to tear their innards, there was threat to Egyptian life. So Pharaoh summoned Moshe and Aaron and said, "Entreat Hashem that he remove the frogs from me and my people, and I shall send out the people, that they may bring offerings to Hashem."
Mm-hmm.
And Moshe said to him, "Glorify yourself over me, for when should I entreat for you to excise the frogs from you and your houses?" Which means Moshe said to him, "I'm not going to do it now because, or I'm not going to do it at any time when I want, because then you might say, oh, you predicted when the frogs, just a natural swarms of frogs that came, naturally they're going to leave. Maybe you somehow foresaw it." Rather, Moshe said, "Tell me when you want them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Give me any time you want, and I'm going to make them leave, and this way you're going to see clearly that it's from Hashem." And Pharaoh said, "Tomorrow." Not today. He was willing to suffer another day just to catch Moshe. Don't remove them today, because maybe you know they're going to leave today. Do it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Moshe cried out to Hashem in Pasuk 8 and Pasuk 9. Hashem carried out the word of Moshe, and the frogs died. They did not leave. But to show Pharaoh, this is not a natural invasion, that